to another live Witches Chat. If you haven't already, go ahead and hit that bell icon so you get all the notifications when I go live and or post videos. So yeah, I definitely got some updates to do about some crazy shit going on. And then we're just kind of going to talk and see where, if anybody has any questions or anything like that. Fair warning though, I'm kind of in a weird place because the pressure, the weather here, we're having a system move in periodically today. So it's definitely affecting how I feel. But yeah, so I'm going to wait until, the notification goes out. It's been a very interesting day. Primarily yesterday was more interesting. But anyways, if you did not know, I'm Fire Lotus. I've been doing these for about 4 years now, and basically in these lives we go over, depending on where the comments go, or if I have to rant, we go over kind of a little bit of everything: witchcraft, spirituality, everything in between, except for current world events and or politics. Yeah, we don't talk about that. Um, so if you've been following along, good day, and good morning, everybody. Technically, good afternoon. But if you've been following me along on primarily TikTok, because I haven't posted them really on any other platform, I had a very interesting. Hello, I had a very interesting experience last week when I was walking to the mailbox. Our land out here is very weird. Just how, just in general, the like vicinity. Hello, kind of how like the land plots are. There we go. So I had an incident where like something followed me back here. And periodically it's kind of been all over the place. Yesterday that kind of came to an head. So for one, I walked outside yesterday around, I think it was about 3 o'clock, to feed the crows again, and I heard an owl hoot twice, which is abnormal because normally owls do not come out in the daytime. And there are a lot of lures and omens around hearing owls hoot at weird points of time. So I was like, all right, whatever. I talked about the shadow, the figure of the hand that I saw, like, kind of around the working that I was doing yesterday, day before yesterday. And then yesterday as well, as I was posting a video, I see this, like, right here as I'm sitting here, I saw this, like, almost shadow of a hand try to, like, reach out and kind of grab my shoulder. And as soon as I realized it was there and I, like, looked, it was gone. I don't think that has to do with what I'm about to talk about, but it's still very weird experiences because I'm not used to these experiences. So I walk outside and it's like 5 something at this point, and I'm talking to my partner as he's coming home. And I walk down towards the actual lake and I hear this weird, it was kind of like a weeping slash with like one of those very awkwardly chuckles. Um, and I was like, all right, that was weird. It was very clear. Um, but there was distance with it. So obviously it was coming from some part of the lake. Well, the way that I heard it, it was coming over this direction. At that exact same moment, I look up to see an ambulance leave that house. Shortly after that, I heard clicking. A weird, very intense clicking sound. So that's currently what I'm dealing with now. I've had a few people reach out to me and kind of, throw me their thoughts and views on it. Um, Possibly, I think it's a land spirit. Maybe I don't know. I'll keep updating as this progresses. Somebody told me to leave an offering, so I may actually try that. Um, Also, update. I did finally get my bat. It is currently in the freezer until I do some research into wet specimens. For the people that did not know, I have a death garden because I love incorporating death and rebirths and all the tributes that death can, like lessons that you can learn from death, into my practice, and I work with the spirits of some of those things. So that's going to be exciting. Hopefully, maybe in the next week or two, I'll be able to get the supplies that I need. I had somebody suggest resin. I've got to see if that would work. So basically, I'm going to fall down a rabbit hole of just research today. Um, and then if you haven't seen it already, I did post a video yesterday, a small little video on working with land spirits. Working with land spirits can be extremely beneficial, but there are also certain steps that we have to go through to be able to actually like do it. Also, it's not going to be like working with your ancestors. They're on a completely different level. Now there is some kind of weird discords about how there's this conversation that I've only seen one video on, and I'm not going to bring it up on other platforms, where people are saying that if you do work with the land spirits, you're not going to be able to work with the native spirits that are on the land. I'm not touching that with a 5-foot pole. I am not. Um, and I don't even really know what to talk about today. I love going live, but today with the pressure systems that's moving in, it's just my brain is all funky. I did find a very cool book. It is for like actual children, but somebody created a book with actual real world depictions of what like modern day witches look like versus like having the long nose and the warts. I'll have that posted when this video goes live. Is definitely a book to check out. But yeah, I don't know. Today's a very weird day. Like, I have energy. I know I have things to do, which I've been slowly working on that. But it's just very weird. Primarily due to the pressure systems. So I don't know. I don't know how long this is gonna go. Like I said, it's a very, very weird day. Um, I actually do have a couple of things that I'm going to start making, asking some questions in the witchy community that I got from the podcast that I listened to, which is paranormal hunting, basically ghost hunting and witchcraft. Why a lot of people, and I've even had this experience, a lot of people think that like it's only just on TV shows. That's the only reason people do that. The energy is very wonky today, but there's a reason paranormal investigators become paranormal investigators. I used to be a paranormal investigator, and that was because I had experiences when I was younger. And it's kind of like once you have an experience that you can't debunk, especially when you're young, depending on how impactful it impacted your life, a lot of people tend to just keep searching to see if they can have that same experience or a different one and or find answers. But see, in the witchy community, due to how TV has depicted paranormal people, there's this kind of stigma behind it that like we're just being rude to the spirits and we're pissing them off, but in reality, it's a way that you can communicate with the spirit without necessarily having to use certain divinational tools. But you can also learn a lot from that spirit with like, you know, what it's like in the afterlife. There are so many benefits to that. Now, obviously, you're not going to go in a building and do like Zach does from the Ghost Adventures and start cussing the fuck out of it, because you're going to get some shit happen to you. There's also somebody that I'm following on TikTok that works and or did work at the Winchester House. Apparently that there was a lot of crazy shit that happened, and he also opened a portal linking I think it was the Waverly House to that house, and he never closed it. And see, with the Winchester House, a lot of people don't fully understand that in an energetic way, that they think it's just like a normal haunting, and it's not. There is a specific word for it, but the entire house in itself is alive. And everybody who's worked there, if they worked there for a while, you can actually tell how connected they are to that property. And I've talked about this before. There are some hauntings that paranormal investigators can go to, and it's extremely interesting when this happens. They'll go to it, and there's only like the original spirits that were there, right? Primarily, most of the time, people that died on the property or died in the house. They'll come back 5 or 6 years later, because same, I do too. It is on my goal, a bucket list to be able to go to that house. There's also a lot of places in New Orleans that I want to go to, and there's a few places in Savannah, Georgia I want to go to. But the crazy thing is with that is with these small little hauntings, they'll get notified that same paranormal team, say 5 or 6 years later, will get notified that the energy has dramatically changed and it's become more intense and we'll say negative. What winds up happening is some type of negative entity. A lot of the times on TV, they use the term demon, which is one of the reasons I personally don't like using the term. But a bigger, nastier negative force moves in and almost kind of like bullies the other spirits. And we've seen this time and time again. And it's cool because it shows that we don't understand it, but to me it shows that there are like caste systems in the spiritual world, just like kind of how we do in society. Yes, I have New Orleans trip planned for next summer. I want to go so bad, and then when I do, obviously I'm gonna be going live and TikToking it because Bloody Mary told me that if I ever get to visit New Orleans, to please let her know and basically come hang out. There are so many things I want to do down there. The only thing that slightly makes me hesitant is because I've been to a lot of locations. I've lived in multiple states periodically throughout my life, but as I got older and went to these places, specifically it happened here in Florida, we went to a wedding and hello, it's going good, just a weird energetic day. Kind of a heavy day. But we went to St. Augustine's, Florida. And for anybody who did not know this, St. Augustine's, Florida is the oldest settlement in the state of Florida. I'm not going to say the United States, but it is the only one that is old as it is and is currently still working. Like there are buildings from the original settlement that they created, which I believe were the Spaniards. We're not, obviously there were natives here. Spanish wise though. So it's extremely old. So we're going to, I think it's the Lionsgate Hotel. And in the process of this, what we did not know was they were having this giant, like, festival. I think it was some type of fish festival. So, like, there were hundreds of thousands of people there. And we get there, we go through the wedding, everything's great. Finally got to have me a martini, like, it was great. On the way back, though, we got lost trying to find the truck, so we go down the oldest part, aka where the cemetery's at. We go straight up through the original settlement. Like, there's cobblestone everywhere. And I felt it as soon as we walked into that area. It was almost, to me, it felt like I walked through, like, this some type, like, energetic wall. And all of a sudden, everything got so intense. And, like, obviously, there's hundreds of people there. But when I hit that wall, it was like that multiplied. And I didn't understand what was going on because at that point in time, I didn't know how old it was. And I didn't know that fucking we just walked through it. So by the time we get to the truck, I have my first panic episode that I've ever had in my life. I've had anxiety attacks, but I've never had a panic attack until now. So on the way home, my partner, he learned that when I go through these episodes, getting me to talk kind of helps me snap out of it. So he was telling me about the history, and I stopped and I said, wait, you took a sensitive witch to one of the oldest places in Florida and did not tell him how old it was. He looked at me and he goes, what the fuck are you on about? And I was like, my anxiety is tied to spiritual activity. And you could tell it clicked in his head, and he goes, so that was because, I said, yeah, that was because of that. I need to know these things. That way I can bring extra shields and, like, do my proper protections. That way it won't affect me like it did. I had a group of skeptic friends that tried to convince me to go to the Waverly. I said it can't be that bad. My witchy ass is like, nah, I don't need all that negative energy around me. I would also actually love to go there. I like the Sally House. I would love to go to the Sally House, even though I don't think there's any activity around it anymore. I would want to go and contact her and be like, so what did that guy do to piss you off so much? Like, straight up. Now, when we get into, like, creepier things, specifically okay, so this is going to be a paranormal talk. Zach and the Ghost Adventures came up with, I guarantee you it was all a fucking scheme. I put too much shit together. We used to have Dish, so we recorded most of the seasons, and when we lost Dish because they're fucking ripoff and they're expensive, we kept the thing. So we used to just watch the seasons over and over again, and in the process of that, you can actually tell in the seasons of when shit starts to shift and shit starts getting faked. Well, the interesting part of that was one particular movie that they came out with, because originally Ghost Adventures actually started out as a documentary. That's what landed them the show on the Travel Channel. And there's a reason I brought that up, is because if you haven't seen it, you need to go watch it, because Zach goes to the place where he first had his paranormal experience that also magically now matches up with this particular house that is called the Demon House. The reason this is interesting is before Zach discovered it, this haunting was almost, it's almost like the Bell Witch. They say the Bell Witch haunting was very, very documented. It was very well back then documented. This one right here went as far as an actual court system. There were paramedics that were called in. There were EMTs that were called in. There were fucking, what's it called? There, in every state, it's different. CPS peoples were called in. One of those CPS agents, after they went to the house and touched something on the wall, like, there were people that investigated this and died mysteriously shortly after this. I've watched all of his stuff multiple times as well. I used to like his stuff, and now to me, it's just everything's went to his head. But, so I don't even know. Supposedly, there were things buried in the basement under the stairwell. So Zach and them goes over there. He injures his eye during the filming of this, which is why he started wearing glasses. But supposedly, creepy shit happened to the point where they demolished the house. But before they demolished it, it just so happened he saved one of the window units, or one of the windows that was in that house. That just so happened 2 years later was in his haunted museum. Now, I do love the idea of what he did by collecting all of this haunted shit, putting it somewhere to where it has 24-hour videotaping. It has 24-hour audio. Like, I would go even further than that and set up all of these other paranormal devices in there to actually get something caught on actual evidence, to where, I mean, at the end of the day, if you look at paranormals and their hauntings, we have so much evidence. Yes, it could be faked. Some of it cannot be faked and has been researched by some of the best specialists when it comes to computering, altering films, editing films, even pictures, that cannot be duplicated. And it's the same thing as a practitioner, as a witch. Good morning. We are chatting about paranormal things. But as a witch, that's what we mean by mundane before magical. Mundane route, can it be replicated? Can you sit there and replicate this? If you can't, then that's when it goes into, okay, maybe this is a divine sign or a magical thing. I was 9, her and 3 sisters, some cousins, went swimming at a local riverbank and they got caught in the current. My grandfather was there. Navy saved all of the kids after getting... Oh, I cannot wait until you finish that. I'm so glad he saved the kids. And that's because what people don't understand are, there's a reason we have a class, I'm going to say class of spirits, is because there are multiple different types of spirits. Okay, I wanted to make sure I didn't miss any comments, but there are spirits that for some reason are landlocked, which means they cannot go anywhere except for their property. And then we have other more advanced spirits to where they can travel. They're not locked at that location. There are multiple haunted locations. Shit, even Hawaii. There are multiple islands to where the last child to safety when he caught in the current and did not make it to the river when I was visiting Phil Pool to the water. OMG! I'm sorry. But, like, there are certain legends in certain islands and certain other places of the world that if you even were to carry a rock or a stick off said land, you'll be cursed. The Grand Canyon, they've actually made 2 different types of horror movies from this, which is there are places in the Grand Canyon you're not supposed to take rocks from due to the native presence there, and people also speculate due to the alien aspect there. Whether you believe that they're from space or interdimensional. The most crazy thing, though, is if you look at some of, like, Zach and them did do one episode, they did not capture the footage. The person who lives on the land captured the footage, and it was on a reservation, or right outside of a reservation. It was native land. They captured a fucking shadow kid person literally blink into existence, and then all of a sudden blink out of existence, and there's no way that could have been faked. If so, I don't know how, besides like editing. When it comes to native magic, and when it comes, and I'm not an expert obviously, but when it comes to the native spirits, any type of like list of things of what not to do that we know normal paranormal to be, that completely flips the script. And the let's see, there is a couple episodes that Zach did. There are a couple other paranormal shows who've also went out there. I don't really like the whole thing that they're doing with Skinwalker Ranch. It's gotten a little bit but there are a lot of weird shit that happens in the desert that is different than Southern paranormal, California paranormal. Hello! I actually fell into the water and I was frightened, but he is a hero and I'd love to work with him. Oh, that is awesome, and you are right. That would definitely be a amazing and honorable energy to work with. The native spirits seem to have their own. They really do. They fully, straight up do have their own set of rules, because the property that we used to live in, by the way, my partner chuckles every single time we go by it, because I will look the opposite. I will not, like, actually look at that property. And the reason is most hauntings can be categorized, whether it's like non-body, as in they were never human or never alive, residual, non-residual. It literally goes on for probably 20 or 30 other things. And normally most haunted locations that I've lived in, because I've lived in a lot, I've been able to kind of fit into these things. On this particular property, it nothing fit. We had poltergeist activity. We had full body apparitions, we had scratches, we had fucking growling and snarling. I would know that because it about fucking killed me, as in scaring me to death. There was a point on the 4th of July where we were in the backyard taking pictures, and I still have some of these pictures. There was this one image that if you slightly lighten it up, it looks like, well, what I would envision a death hound to look like. And I'm not even joking. There was only one dog on the property, and it was passed away shortly after that. But it wasn't this particular dog, because this particular dog primarily stayed under the porch or in the front yard. It really would not go in the backyard. And then we had cats. Okay, on top of that, we saw an orb. We saw an actual fucking orb about this big. My experience of seeing it versus the two other people that were with us, experiences were also different. It flew behind a tree, and then in front of the tree. My partner, I was using a pendulum, and then my partner wanted to use it, so I handed it to him. All three of us are kind of standing in a circle. As soon as I handed that motherfucker that pendulum, it felt like, you know, when you're in school and like you're talking to like three of your friends, and then all of a sudden a crowd forms around you, that feeling. Imagine that, but like 100 people. 100 spirits just straight up walked up and was just surrounding us. I couldn't really see them as much as I felt the energy. And the third person that was there doesn't know magic, doesn't really know do paranormal things or anything like that, and he even felt it. And the only thing that I could say was, for one, I do know that at one point in time, that piece of property used to be connected to a huge ass plantation. And then there's also a heavy native presence around that area as well. All right, let me catch up on the comments. I'm the same way with the old places, native burial grounds, and the woods surrounding the house. Hellhounds. Are you talking about Skinwalker Ranch in Utah? I have been trying to get my husband to take me there. Earlier in the conversation, yes, but what I just got through talking about is a property in Florida, my old town that I used to live in. I've been scratched like crazy by an entity. I'm talking scratches of inches. Oh, God. 3 big ones in a straight line down my back. Spine for the name of the neck. Holy shit. I've had bruises and I've been scratched a couple of times. But I was actually talking to my partner last night about scratching, and it had to do with that. Because most people, when they see the 3 scratches, they automatically go to, it's a demon trying to mock the Holy Trinity. But it could be more than that. That's one of the reasons me and him don't really talk that much on paranormal things, because he does still have a Christian mentality, so he automatically thinks it's a demon. And I'm like, I know people who work with these demons. Now, with that being said, are there a shit ton of negative energies out there? Yes, they are. And this goes into a question, like, when somebody dies, say that person was a serial killer who took multiple lives, or say some of the crazy people we've had in history that have taken an entire population. The cult leaders, right? What happens when they die? And if so, does it depend on like just a normal soul transfer? Like, is something holding them back? If it does hold back, Does he become what we picture or associate with being demons or darker energy? Maybe that would be one of the reasons that, like I said before, there are properties to where there's only, mundane spirits is what I'm gonna say. They're not, they don't care if they don't care if you know about them, but they don't really harm anybody, right? And then all of a sudden, 5 or 6 years later, we have something 10 times bigger and 10 times nastier that also has taken in residence. And let's not even talk about the fucking Conjurer House, people. That happened to my friend's grandparents' house, which is a very old native land. It has its burial, and before they buried, my friend took a key from the house. And nope, nope. I have learned my lesson on that. Do not take shit from houses because you will take things with you. That's why I encourage anybody who buys any type of furniture, anything like that from a yard sale and or a thrift store, you need to cleanse the fuck out of that shit before you bring it in your house. 100% on that. Now, the Conjure House, it's actually very, very interesting in a lot of aspects. Now, we're not talking about the movie, The Conjure House. We're actually talking about the Conjure House. One of the females that lived in that house actually wrote, fair warning, some of them are really fucking boring, because this woman made sure she put every single painstaking detail into things that did not need it, but here we are. And it's called House of Dark, House of Night. There are like 4 to 5 books, I think, that actually explain everything. And I mean, there were even supposedly legendly, there were also moments where they interacted with extraterrestrial beings. But it was Bathsheba that interested me because they dug up some records on her, and it's in her death file that they don't know what happened to her, but her skin basically like porcelainized. It was like stone. My fiance torched the key, and he started to feel incredibly nauseous and had 3 scratches on his back. I cleaned him when I got home, and scratches were gone the next day. We tried to convince him. Holy shit. My sister's spirit is identical to what she was alive. She believes negative people's spirits would stay negative. I believe the same thing, honestly. It just depends on, like, kind of how much, almost if we're looking at a tally system, how much is against their list. To take the key back to the land, but it's, like, got claws dug into them deep. He refused to give it up. Holy shit. But with that particular Bathsheba and the experiences they had, and even after that, when the original family or some of the family members went on location of the film, as soon as they stepped foot on it, there was a random gust of wind that like kind of separated everybody. And at that exact same moment, their mother, who was in the hospital, who had recently fallen the night prior, woke up at the exact same moment and started screaming, Bathsheba, Bathsheba. So, like, there are a lot of things that are very interesting about that. Now, one of the most intense paranormal experiences that I've had that wasn't on that property, I used to live with a couple of my roommates on a family farm, and we lived out in the horse stable slash halo, in a 2 bedroom, like converted, fully functional, like we had a kitchen, a bathroom, a laundry room, and I slept in the living room on a futon. Best experience I think I've ever had in my entire life, because I was the farm hand. That's how I paid to live there. So like I did chores every day, got to work with the land, and I don't know, I think I got it from my ex, but I had this piece of iron that was like twisted. I loved the way that it looked, but I got a weird vibe from it. So we started having weird shit happen here. And they've lived on the farm for a while, so like obviously nobody had died on it, and we couldn't understand what was going on. So it got to the point to where not only were we having and hearing shit and experiencing shit, but we also all would randomly start fighting for no fucking reason. And me and 2 other people who lived there, actually all of us were kind of very spiritual. I was kind of teaching them in a way, all witchcraft. So like we're fully aware that something is manipulating us. So the other male that was there, he brings out the Bible. And I'm filming this, take in mind. I'm filming all of this as much as we can. We kept having issues with the film, like completely breaking up, like pixelizing. So I find out, or I had an idea that it was the little metal piece. So I start to burn it. I'm pretty sure there's a scientific explanation for this. But as I start burning it, the entire energy gets really, really intense. And then the fucking flame goes from a normal flame to it flashes green and then it turns blue. All right. So at this point, all the farm animals around us, we have chickens, primarily hens and roosters around us. They're losing their shit. The horses are losing their shit. Um, and take in mind, their parents and their like the other little kids that stayed there are up at the main house right through the yard up there. So we're having to do all of this without actually waking them up or being too loud. Because they treated us like we were adults. So I'm like, all right, I've got to do something with this. There's also a plot. They did not plant it. It just naturally grew of pine trees that made a complete perfect circle. There were 4 of them, 4 to 5 of them. So I go in the middle of there and I dig this hole, poured salt in it, and then at the exact moment that I lowered this piece of iron down into the ground, the entire property just went fucking quiet, like dead quiet. The most creepy experience I think I've ever had on that property was that particular night, because it took 2.5 hours to not only get that in the ground, cleanse it properly, but also whatever fucking energy was on the property to actually get it to fucking leave. Holy shit, it was intense. We did finally actually get it to leave. We have no idea what it was. I'm assuming that my ex fucking, I don't know, attached something there. And then the only other creepy experience that I had was when we were living in Anniston, Alabama. If y'all do not know this, there's Anniston and Oxford. It's separated by a highway bridge. It's literally in the mountains of Alabama, or the foothills of the Appalachians. So we're going to these like haunted locations that we can, and in the process of this, we wound up bumfuck middle of nowhere with this like fucking old church there. So at this point, we're all kind of freaked out. Yes, we're high. We were smoking, off and on. But there's one particular interest where we were just kind of stopped at the parking lot and we were right up under a light. So like we were not just sitting in the dark, and we had our windows rolled down and we kept hearing something that sounded like it was walking and then like trying to like walk around the car, because where we're parked at and where the light's at, there's a ravine that just goes straight down. And we're trying to figure out, like, is it like a random dog? Like, is it a mountain lion? Like, the multiple things it could be. And then we started hearing fucking growling. And it sounded like it would start charging and kind of get halfway up the ravine and then just stop. Talking about scared shitless. Imagine all of a sudden, like, doing your thing. We had the radio up just a little bit. We had to turn that down, and you hear growling and then rustling. When I tell you we left that fucking church faster, probably if we would have been in the city, we probably would have been arrested and or gotten a ticket. That creeped me the fuck out. And some of the stories that I heard up there talk from like the older people and their families, holy shit. Weird. I know iron holds and attracts and dispels energy. I've always noticed that metal holds energy and memory so much longer than other objects. No, thank you. Right? And it does. It does. Iron, not only is it great to keep the fae away, there are also certain lores that with certain spirits, they do not like it at all. Copper can also hold and not even hold, but also like help you focus in. So if you ever find any copper wiring and you have a wand or even an athame, add that to that and add it to crystals as well. But like I heard stories where there was a family that got attacked by a gnome, and I'm not even joking, full blown gnome. They locked it in their attic. One of my exes, his family, they actually lived up in the mountains. They even had like a mountain shack house. That's what they called it. And one of the stories of their family members creeped me the fuck out. Now you got to take into account the ex that I'm talking about. I mean, we're good friends now, but me and his mother, we did not see eye to eye at all. No way. No, thank you. But when she tells a story, she knows how to get you and like hold you there. So they had a family member that around the 2 to 3 nights revolving the moon, he would go berserk. to the point where he would lock himself in his bedroom, and all the family members, it scared the shit out of the kids, but all the family members would hear basically what sounded like he was destroying the fucking room. And they would hear snarling. There were scratches on the fucking floor. He would get up under the bed and like fucking snarl and growl. And then next morning when they walked in there, besides the scratches, nothing was damaged. And he did this periodically, repetitively. And like that makes me think that my biggest... Hold that thought. Seriously, every single fucking time I get into this shit, you start being fucking stupid. Yeah, I said it. You're being fucking stupid. Shit. Sorry about that. But my biggest theory with like some of, because like I always say, all of these legends and lore came from something. I mean, we have cave paintings that can date back to like hundreds of thousands of possibly billions of years with also same depictions of these creepy things. So my biggest theory is the more that we advanced, as in we started kind of moving away from like living on the land and like merging ourselves to more of like a society, I believe some of these lures, legends, and stuff like that, they kind of went into hiding. There are interesting places all throughout. I have no idea who that is. All right. There are places all throughout the United States that still have legends to this day that are very alive and well. There are places in Kentucky that believe they have small people, or little people that live out in the cave systems. There's the Cherokee legend of the moon-eyed people. They were people that were actually here when the natives came. There are a lot of legends and lore that like I don't know if it's true, but they have found certain structures that the original ancient people who lived there did not build. It was already built. So my biggest theory is that as we transitioned away from working with the land, we also magic kind of died off in a way. What I mean by this is like back then, I mean, me walking up to someone spitting on them and whispering could land me in jail. The superstitions was alive. Key energy is ridiculous in the dark, but I was with him the day he found, so I don't know if he passed it or buried. I hope he got rid of it. Nebraska has a fruit cryptids and homos that we have of I know people legends, but yeah. See, this all fucking fascinates me because, like, the 411s. I hate this house. The 411, the missing 411. We still do not know what's happening to these people. And some of them just do not make sense. Like, they're not all missing or dead, but if you look into some of the stories behind some of these weird cases, there's a story that this kid was in a national park, and he's like 2 years old, 2 or 3 years old. He's a toddler, and his mother turns away for a second, and then boom, he's fucking gone. He was found 4 to 5.5 miles, if not, I think it was longer than that, away. He was missing one shoe, but he was completely okay. That's another interesting fact with the missing 411s. They're normally all missing shoes. They were also like, it's just weird because like with some of these cases and when they found the remains, there were no like bite marks or scrape marks or anything like that. Some of these, their clothing were completely taken off and folded and placed in a certain direction. Some of this shit is weird that we cannot explain. Exactly. I also found out if this is true, our fucking schooling system fucked us up. The Alexander Library never actually burned down. There was a section of it that burned that they rebuilt, but get this, and this breaks my heart. It lost its value as in people just stopped going. And that's kind of what happened to it. And I'm just like, life now. But I believe certain magics kind of went into hiding. I believe those are time traveler portals or something like off the show Outlander. I honestly do too. I also love that show. I also love the fact I've got to finish it, but I do love the fact they're bringing it back. There was another show. No, there was a movie. Oh my God, what was it? Was it? No, it was a TV. It was a Netflix show where this device like landed on Earth. No, no, it was not. What fucking show am I thinking about? It was a show that got canceled on NBC. That's what it was. Um, Debris. There we go. That's what it was. It was the show where like this ancient technology alien shit fell to Earth and it was causing all these weird things. But there was an episode that they linked to the missing 411, which was what you just said, basically, that there were these portals that people would walk into and it transferred them somewhere else. I also believe that, and this is completely fringe out there. I know if you're an archaeologist, you're gonna be like, oh great, he's one of those. No, I'm not. We do know of certain civilizations or certain groups of people completely just vanishing off the face of the earth. I believe that's what they did. I believe that they found a portal of some sort, understood it in some way, and just walked the fuck through. Um, I live in nice end. People were spiking about mermaids. Oh, I do. I kind of do believe that mermaids could be a possibility. Not like we know it as, but our oceans are one of the most undiscovered thing ever. Not to mention we have hundreds of miles of forest around the world that also has not been fully scanned through. And you would think with all the drones, like why has somebody not came out with a drone? We may not have the technology that like in Prometheus where they get into the cave and they release the drones and it just goes through the entire thing while scanning it out, mapping it out. That's what we need now. Imagine being able to do that to the cave systems that we have. Holy shit, like mind blowing. Now, with that being said, do I believe there are feral people? No. I believe that is just some stupid Hollywood made up thing. There may be some legends about it, but no. Um, but I believe like mermaids totally be a thing. It could be a species that we don't know of, or it could have been our great 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 Neanderthal whatever. Instead of developing on land, they went to the sea to develop. There are a couple of groups of civilizations, are I'm not gonna say cultures or race. I think it is a race though. It's a very small thing. They're divers, and they're basically mer people because they can survive underwater in a length of time that most humans couldn't. But on top of that, it's actually passed down into their genes. So by the time that they have kids, and due to the fact that they've been doing this for over 100 and something years, hundreds of years, it literally has been passed down through them, and it's only this specific people. That means that depending on our environment, we can evolve to fit that environment. We're seeing it now with what they're calling the pandemic babies. Um, and it makes sense. Like my partner brought up something, um, it very well could have been. I believe the ancient high tech theory too. I like that too. There's another theory that I heard about yesterday, and I've never heard it described like this, which is one of the reasons we have never came into full contact with like anything outside of our system, is because every single time humanity gets to a point to where we're close to that like space time travel, we completely destroys ourselves, which is true. I mean, every fucking thing has ever done it. You get to a certain point and you just completely collapse. So I do like that theory. I do like the advanced technology theory as well. Um, what theory was I about to talk about? Holy shit. Ancient people going away. Cryptoids. Ancient aliens. I have no idea what I was about to talk about, but, you know, there is ADHD brain going on. I know I was talking about mermaids. But, that's what it was. Pandemic babies. And a conversation I was having with my partner. The 80s and 90s babies and the early 2000s babies, as a generation, we have seen more shit than most other generations. Like, think about that. Think about everything that has happened from the 80s all the way until now that we've witnessed. And a lot of the pandemic babies that people are saying, it's our generations that are having them. And it makes sense. Like Lucy says it, an organism, if it cannot survive or thrive, it's not going to reproduce. Well, in order to do that, you also have to change with the moving of time and the moving of evolution and technology. So now, I mean, we're having 2-year-olds pick up a fucking tablet and use it like Picasso does. No thanks. It makes me feel old. Laugh my ass off. I believe all life is about leveling up. The more level you are, the more higher up you get, the more knowledge you get, the more adventures you get to have. Um, I do wish the world would kind of like snap the fuck out of whatever fever dream it's going through, because I mean, there's just crazy shit happening all over the fucking place. Um, but I always go back to, if all of these things are true, obviously any animal would know that, yo, I'm not going to expose myself to a species, that there are so many jokes I could put into that. Jesus, you know, that, I don't know if y'all have seen it, but there was a video that was made, and it was like the aliens were talking to humans. And he's like, so what did you do when Jesus came? And the alien's like, well duh, we do what he loves. We gave him chocolate. And the human's like, chocolate? And the alien's like, well, yeah, what did you do? Obviously, I wouldn't come out and be like, yo, I'm here too. But I don't know, it's very interesting because, like, my beliefs in all of this change on an everyday thing. Like, I learned the other day that it was a video, and it's like, you know, you don't need all these crystals because our brains are the biggest crystal we have. And what they mean by that is our pituitary gland, aka the third eye, actually has crystal formations in it. Um, so theoretically, we are an actual fucking crystal. Not to mention, we are made up of everything that the universe is made out of. So we are literally stardust. So stardust mixed with crystals, mixed with, I mean, and I've had people tell me that this is like not really a thing anymore, but clear quartz is known as the universal crystal due to the fact that we use it in technology. It can actually store technology into it. It can store memories. It can store emotions into it. Now that kind of also links up with the uh-oh, I love my crystals, but thank you. Ha ha ha, they're pretty. Oh no, same. As you can tell, I'm obsessed with crystals too. And I mean, I have crystals that I have not even to begin to fully tap into them. Because there are some people that believe you have to rub a crystal a certain way to activate it. Some people believe you can just speak to it. The crystal skull. Now that's an interesting thing. Whether it's fully true or not, I don't know. I have a crystal skull, but what I have, I don't think is real. Blue obsidian. I was told that blue obsidian is not an actual natural forming obsidian. Um, but with the crystal skulls, I've been studying sacred geometry, and it really is fascinating. Like it literally, there has to be some type of creator. I don't care what you say that is. There has to be, for these patterns to repeat in all things of nature. Um, it it's fucking, it'll make you fall down a rabbit hole because it does sync up with synchronicity. There are a lot of things that, like, I guess it's like it depends on how much you put yourself in a box. And I'm trying to break out of that box because before I started doing this, y'all, I was out there with what I fully believed in, and then huh, um yes, everything really is fully connected. And I've sat down and like fully done this out by, I've sat down and I have connected at crucial points of how, if I would have went this way instead of doing this way, that I would not be where I'm at today sitting here doing this. Yes, I have way too much time on my hands. I know this. Um, get yourself some laminar. It's formed like obsidian but underwater. Oh, lamir. Ooh, I'm writing that down. The places I want to go are the energy vortexes they have, like, out in the desert. I know there are a couple, there are one or two in some southern states. I would love to go there just because they've had certain scientists and physicists study this and they don't understand it. And that's what I love. Now, if you really want to fall down a fucking rabbit hole of a rabbit hole, and this was technically done by a prisoner who did a rock song before he died, but look up the blood pentagram in the United States and Canada. Supernatural kind of was onto something there because there are specific points all throughout Canada and the United States. We both have separate ones, and we have one that links together, where at these certain locations, and they're hundreds of miles, they're not just like one town or anything, there were huge disasters, whether that was man-made, natural, huge casualties of lives lost. You have to think that is a lot of blood that seeps into it. So I have a question about passion flower. What do the main blah, 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 magical or mundane? Do they mean magical? They mean for a passion flower, it can be both. Mundane would be like the benefits you get if you were to drink it into a tea or take it into a capsule. And then there are also magical qualities to it too. Um, I would pull out a book, but the only book that I have that represents magical herbs, besides the folklore books, it's a book that I actually do not recommend, unless you have to, or if it's the only book you can. It's a great book to start on, and that's the Cullenham Magical Encyclopedia of Magical Herbs. I don't actually like that at all. There's a lot of misinformation, and there's things that should have been worded and more clear between the mundane and magical versions of using herbs. Um, I have a small skull carved in wood that came from Mexico. Oh, that is cool. Yes, passion flower is a great sedative. It's also really great for anxiety as well. Interesting fact too about that, because normally sedatives you'll hear about valerian root. Interesting fact with valerian root. Valerian root does not actually put you to sleep. It helps you stay asleep. I learned this the hard way in about a week and a half of being late for work. Um, there's a really amazing spot in the Redwood Forest in California. It's near Crescent City. You can legit walk on the walls. That's the place. I've seen that place before. Well, either one, somebody's got a visitor, or B, somebody's getting a package, because I think it's UPS, which is weird because... Ow. Oh, no, it's just the neighbors. But, yeah, I would love to go to these vortexes to, like, kind of take them in. There's also this thing that you can get where, they sell them on Etsy, but you gotta find the real one. I don't know what they're called, but there are these pyramid things that it actually has to have certain types of copper and other metals in it because it can transmute negative energy and kind of amplify that. But I would love to be able to get enough copper piping to make like a miniature pyramid and be able to link some crystals up to it and try something like that. Um, and then crystal grids, obviously. But I like some of the locations because some of those locations that... Ah! Hold that thought, y'all. Some of those locations that have these vortexes also have a very, very heavy crystal and or certain other minerals that are normally deposited around those areas. So I find that interesting. There are a couple other interesting, since we're talking about kind of paranormal things, there's the Devil's Playground, or the Devil's Stomping Ground, and then there's a place, I don't think it's here in America, I want to say it's in the Netherlands. There was a team of investigators that went there, and it's this circle that nothing grows on that plot of land at all. And he was there, and if it was real, he actually got picked up and thrown. But there's another place here in America that's like that. It's the Devil Stomping Ground. It is a circle. There are so many stories that like people have tried to actually like camp out inside this space, and they wake up the following day and they're completely outside of the space. There are people that have had fires in the middle of the space, and apparently there are legends of where those fires completely go the opposite way. There's Told Strood Road. I don't know if that's an actual true or not, but I know there's a crazy ass movie behind the legend of it. But basically, there's a place to where there are 7 gates, and if you walk through all 7 gates, the last one, you basically go through the gates of hell. I've went to Goatman's Bridge. No, I went to Hell's Gates Bridge, and where it got that lore from, it's in Anniston. It's no longer active, so you got to kind of try to figure out a way to get your car down to the road. But supposedly it was a bridge that when you go across it at night and you look in your rear view mirror, you would see the gates of hell. And then obviously after that, there are a couple of other lores that go to it about like a woman killing her baby. I should have said trigger warning, sorry. And then you have all the lores behind the satanic rituals and all of that. Um, fuck. The creepiest one that I think I've been to is the Coffin House. That kind of creeped me the fuck out because the legend behind it, if it's true, there was a hitman that specialized in children. And before he died, he like knew he was going to die. So in his attic, he built a maze. And in the center of that maze, he crawled up there one day, crawled into the coffin that he built, and sealed himself up. Whether that's true or not, I don't know. But the experiences that I had there were fucking creepy. Um, and I love locations like that. Whether I can explain it or not, I love locations that are just creepy. And then I love the locations that most people are like think that are haunted and then come to find out it's not a haunting. Hello. Um but like I would love to be able to, because my favorite show used to be So Weird. I would love to be able to do that, to actually be able to get in an RV. Um Obviously I'd find a driver because I can't drive due to my anxiety, but get into a small little RV and travel to all of these locations, but have different types of tools that you could use to be able to get certain like data, raw data, and then compare them to other locations, and then also circle back to these locations at different points and times of the year, and then also counter in astrology reasons. Our home park is said to have satanic rituals and is haunted where albino people live. Unfortunately, it has been proven as a place where bodies have been dumped. Oh God. Another place like that is the Pine Barrels. Yeah, the Pine Barrels. There are a lot of murders and killers and a lot of other creepy shit connected to the Pine Barrels. Um, but yeah, like I would love to be able to do all that and be able to do it. And yes, same. I love So Weird too. That's one of the only reasons I have Disney Plus, is because if I ever get bored, I will rewatch their shows. I wish that they would bring that back and Disney not completely fuck it up as usual. Disney's actually getting a lot of hate right now. Not that I normally bring stuff up like this, but the Owl House, one of my favorites. We're talking about paranormal stuff. But the Owl House on Netflix is one of my all-time favorite shows. Wait, it's not on Netflix. Is it on Netflix? No, I think it's on Disney Plus. But it was one of my favorite shows that they came out with. Well, the creators on TikTok, and they all got a letter sent out to all the creators about how basically Disney said, look, because it came to light that Disney had been putting money into pockets that were for Don't Say Gay Bill. And let's just say it kind of got brought up to light. So they sent out a letter to everybody that was like, look, that's Disney. It's not going to change. So Disney's not really doing so well right now. I did not know that. They let me rewatch. Yep, I love it, and I totally wish they would redo it. It would be really, really great. We need things like that. Also, it was one of the first, besides the Scooby-Doo movies, it was one of the first times that I was introduced to like everything that I loved in life. And I'm still that way. I'm obsessed with all things strange and weird. Me and my partner, every day we go into town on the weekends or during the week. We listen to podcasts about ghost stories, paranormal stories. Because it brings excitement to your life. Like, what if? The next time your power gets knocked out, knock on wood, that's not anytime soon, but the next time that happens, if you still have enough time on your phone, grab a couple of candles and some maybe a flashlight to really get that kind of spooky thing going, and then just play a podcast of like creepy stories or paranormal stories. They have some that are friendly, they're not too scary for younger kids. And then they have adult versions, and it's really fucking cool. We did it. We lost power here for like an entire, I think it got cut back on at like 9, 10 o'clock at night. So we went out to the car. I rolled some joints. Went out to the car and we had a smoke sesh while listening to a podcast while eating hand food or shit you didn't have to cook from Dollar General. It was a very cool date night, like power out date night. Um, I also like the other show called like Everything Isn't What It Seems. Yes, I do too. I do too. I miss Charmed. The newer Charm's coming back this month though. I miss Don't Be Afraid of the Dark. Um, there were a couple other ones. Like there is a point in time that I missed Discovery Channel and the Travel Channel mainly. They had, especially during the month of October, where they had all of these shows or all of these people that would go out to either haunted locations or haunted attractions. I fucking loved those shows, especially like Haunted America, where each episode they would go over a couple lures between each states. I would love that. The fucking and they don't make them anymore really. The oh yes, I loved Grimm. The old TV show, fuck, what was it? It was on Discovery and it was about a haunting. I was obsessed with that show so much. I used to reenact as if I was the leader or the fucking head person of the show and I was like walking you through this. That is how much I used to love shows like that, and they need to redo it. I know they revamped the Haunting series. Um, I don't know if I've actually watched any episodes like that, but we need more of those. Like, remember the channel, the shows that they had during like summer break where, yes, the Secret Circles, they damn sure need to do that one. But like on the Travel Channel where they would go and like they would go to all the places in the United States, like all the mines and the hounds, the crystal hounds, and like do all this shit. They need to redo that. Totally need to redo that, especially right now with everything going on. Not only are you helping these small businesses, but you're also being able to come up with creative ideas of getting out of the house. Um, but yes, they need to redo all of those so fucking much. They also need to finally either do it in a movie or a TV show. The House of Night series, that they have so much material there that they could do so many things with. What about Destination though? I think that's what it is. Destination Fear or was it Destination? It may have been Destination. Um but there was Destination Fear. I did like that show. There was another show where it was the paranormal show where it was a bunch of people that would come together and they would like go to these places and try to debunk them. I love shit like that. Whether they can or they couldn't, obviously it's TV. Yes, Destination Truth. There we go. I love places like that. Especially those. Like I'm upset. Like I just found out they're coming out with the Indiana Jones movie. They just got through wrapping it. It's not going to come to theaters anytime soon, but it has the original Indiana Jones in it. Fucking love it. And same, I really wish they would redo or respin off the Halloween series, as long as they did not do like they did with the other ones. Should be great. But the problem is that Disney doesn't focus on that shit anymore, and they need to. I mean, we are getting Hocus Pocus 2, finally. We're going to have to wait until fucking October, but we're still getting it. Um, what other movies are coming out this year? There are a couple of horror movies that I'm definitely wanting to get into. Um, and then thanks to TikTok, I learned that somebody is making a documentary on witchcraft modern day. So that's going to be interesting. We should do a Zoom watch party or something like this. Oh, I didn't even think about that. We should. I'll have to wait until I get my computer or the tablet. Um, and then I'll actually be able to set that up. Especially, we could definitely do that in Halloween. Um, and that's feasible. Yes, 100% on that. We also need new Hogwarts movies. But yeah, no, I could totally do that. Once I get everything that I would need to set that up, I will definitely, that may be a series, a mini series in fucking, December. Love to host a Zoom. I have a huge projector. Sweet! Wow, this is actually doable. But yeah, we can definitely do this. And see, this is cool, because if we plan this together, we'd actually be able to, like, do it as an event. And I have Zoom on my phone. I just never fucking use it. I've used it once. There's a Dumbledore one coming out this year. Oh, thank God. We need more witchy shit now. Like, all the good shit they canceled, all the Netflix shows. Like, I've seen every supernatural, paranormal, witchy Netflix show. I'm also hoping we get a new season of, what is it called now? The fairy one. Twix? Wix? Whatever Netflix did with that. Like, full theater room. Oh, holy shit! Yes, Hocus Pocus 2. The sisters are back and going to kick some ass. Yes, they are. We use it a lot with family calls. I'd never thought about that. Um, I did add the tablet though. If you were in my live yesterday, you know what I add. You know what I'm talking about. But I did do that. Yes, Winx. I wish they would like come up with a new season of that. There were two very, very good seasons that Netflix did, and they just didn't. But I learned something, and the reason Netflix only does like primarily 3 to 4 seasons, and then they cancel it, and it's really stupid, but it also makes sense. Which is they see it as if they continue with the series, especially after it moves past the 4th series, they're not really going to get a lot of newer viewers to stream it right then and there due to the fact that they'll have to catch up on all the things. Yes, we definitely need more Roswell. Um, but that's one of the reasons, like the Salem series, that's the reason it only got the seasons that it did, is because they feel like if they go above beyond that one, it kind of goes everywhere. Lock and Key, we also need a 3rd season of Lock and Key. Definitely on that. We are getting, by the same creator, I believe, of Lock and Key, the graphic novels, we're getting a Sandman series. Disney has a cartoon show called Witch. I know, I've been keeping an eye on that, and I cannot wait for it to come out. I have not actually finished Lucifer. I've only made it to midway through season 2. I don't know why. I struggle watching that show. I mean, obviously, fucking most of the people in there is attractive, but I don't know. It's weird. They should also revamp Ghost Whisperer. That was an amazing fucking show. It was until like the last 2 seasons. Lock and Key was filmed local to me. I watched their film a few times. Oh, that is cool. I did not know that. Oh, holy shit. I got so many notifications that I got to respond to. But yeah, and I'm just knocking shit over left and right. I have a project that I'm in the beginning stages of working that I'll be like talking about more later on this midsummer, mid-fall, that a lot of people are going to be able to get behind and like be involved with. I love Ghost Whisperer and Stargate. Yeah, I like Stargate. It's not the original, but I like Stargate Atlantis. I did recently go back and watch the original Stargate movie. A lot of good shows die after their 5th season. This is true. I mean, Supernatural, on top of them making it as long as they did, they're doing a spin-off show called The Winchesters, and then the original characters of Supernatural came back and they're like, no, you know what? Let's go again. So I don't know what that's gonna be. And then, fuck. What were the other ones? It's not Supernatural. And then on top of that, there's a Supernatural community on TikTok that actually wrote a script, and then they're actually producing that TV show, but it's actually not going to have anything to do with Supernatural. So wise, this is just going everywhere. I wish they would redo Practical Magic or I have not heard a single thing after this. Did you watch Stargate Universe after? I haven't actually. I need to check that out. But so Practical Magic, that's the first book that came out. But there are like 2 prequels now. And the first prequel, which is The Rules of Magic, which is basically the aunt in Practical Magic, the 2 aunts, it's their story and their backgrounds. You also get introduced to the only male witch that was born in their bloodline. But HBO supposedly picked that show up at the beginning of 2020, I believe, and they were supposed to be doing a live action TV show of it. If you have not, I suggest you try to get all of the books. I have not been able to read Practical Magic because I've seen the movie, so it kind of fucked me up. But I've read all the other books except for the 2 most recent ones. Well, the one most recent one, and then she's also coming out with another one, but it actually is involving like a deeper into the family ties. But there's Rules of Magic. what is there? There's Practical Magic, The Rules of Magic, I think The Book of Magic, and there's like two other ones, but they have one out now. She has one out now. It's the story of the original ancestor that this kind of started with and her journey. Oh, they're so fucking amazing. But yeah, we need shows like that. Like Practical Magic, I wish they would kind of redo that. If not, do something similar. There's The Covenant that just went nowhere. They need to redo. Tamara, if y'all have not seen that movie, go watch that. That is an amazing movie. There are some trigger warnings in that movie, but it's still really good. It could have got somewhere. Yes, Witches of East End need to be picked back up. Believe it or not, the Lifetime Witches of East End, because it did not actually get to finish out, one of her books that is behind that show, at the end of one of her books, is the actual ending to Witches of Eastwick. And/or Witches of East End. There we go. They need to like redo that too. They are Rob Zombie's redoing the original Monster series, so that's going to be very interesting. But we need like a live action witchy thing. So bad, it's not even funny. But with that being said, I think I'm gonna go ahead and close it out now. Oh, that sounded weird. But I will be back tomorrow. Hopefully the energy is a little bit better with that. I'm hopefully also going to actually get some videos done today. That depends on if this, because we're actually starting to get some of it move in now. But yeah, if anybody ever has any questions or anything like that, Discord is up right now. It did go down yesterday with Facebook and Spotify. It's back up. Yes, I hope you have a good day too. And yeah, until then, I will talk to y'all later. Peace.